How many of you have consumed dirty websites? Well, statistics shows that 2/3 of all websites are dirty. And when I say dirty, I'm not referring to any dirty content. I'm referring to the fact that websites are being powered by fossil fuels. So today, let's talk dirty, or at least talk about dirty applications. So my name is Elsa, and I'm here today with my colleague Dave to talk to you about dirty applications. And we all know that digitalization plays a crucial part in transforming societies and businesses around the world. And digitalization is also identified as being one of the most important elements in reaching our climate targets and the Paris Agreement. And this is what we are referring to as greening with IT, how we utilize the power of software and data to lower the environmental footprint from other industries. A simple example of greening with IT is that instead of printing a regular paper to sign it, you can now sign things and store it digitally. And expert says that the savings potential from greening with IT is around 15% of the world's CO2 emissions. And this is huge. We should never underestimate the power of software and data. However, greening with IT has been the main focus area when talking about IT and sustainability. But what about the actual climate footprint from the IT industry itself? And this is what we are referring to as green IT, how we minimize the environmental footprint from the IT industry itself. And the IT industry accounts for around 5% of the world's climate footprint today. And it's one of the fastest growing industries in the world. And this is due to digitalization. And the data center industry is claimed to be the fastest growing industry in the world. And it represents around 1% of the world's climate footprint. And the data center industry is actually estimated to consume up to 10% of the world's electricity in 2030, so in less than 9 years. The most dominant factor affecting the CO2 footprint from the IT industry is the electricity consumption. And today, 60% of the world's electricity is generated from fossil fuels, which essentially means that 2/3 of all websites or streaming services you consume is powered by fossil fuels. So it's really astonishing that something that isn't really visible for the eye has and will continue to have such a large environmental footprint. And as a sustainability lead, my main concern is connected to this graph, and it's probably the most important graph there is. So to reach the Paris Agreement, we often refer to something called the carbon law. And the carbon law is a roadmap to reach net zero emissions by 2050. And the roadmap says that emissions will have to peak by 2020 at the latest, and then fall to net zero by 2050. And if we achieve the carbon law, it would give the world a 75% chance of keeping Earth below the 2 degrees Celsius Paris Agreement target. But unfortunately, we're not on track. So what is the challenge? And all of us in this meeting are working within the IT industry, which is the fastest growing industry in the world. And we all know that data is considered one of the most valuable assets in the world. Essentially, you could say that data is the new oil. So we will most likely continue to hear people talk about the important role of data, digitalization, and greening with IT. But in our discussions and in our activities connected to sustainability, we need to start talking and acting on green IT, and especially act on the climate impact of software and data. So I'll hand over to my colleague, Dave.
Thanks, Elsa. Perhaps if we had the right tools, we could make a difference. In the 90s, a new directive established an energy efficiency labeling scheme. And this led to white goods and other electrical appliances being rated from A to G. But does simply measuring something actually help the problem? Well, according to the EU, 2/3 of fridges and washing machines were graded as A in 2006. Now, about 90% are graded as A+ or better. And I'm unsure what's driven this improvement in efficiency. But if lower carbon emissions is the result, then it's probably a good thing. Are the efficiency improvements a result of measuring and labeling? Well, even the IT industry has been experiencing efficiency gains since the beginning, something described nicely by Kumi's law, which states the energy efficiency of computers doubles every 1.6 years. Now, there are approximately 60 zettabytes of data in the world, and that's growing exponentially. So isn't it a bit strange that we're lacking the data to help us use technology more responsibly? If the goal of improving efficiency is to reduce the total energy consumption or emissions, then I think we could do better. I suspect that efficiency improvements are little more than an enabler for improvements in business value or economic growth. The rebound effect describes this nicely. To summarize it, with great efficiency comes great value, but also great usage. So maybe we should be measuring total energy usage. Do any of you know the energy usage of your applications? How about the energy usage of your laptop? Well, whatever the driving force behind the impressive efficiency gains, it is unfortunately not enough. In order to reach the Paris Agreement, we should actively try to reduce our total energy usage and emissions, preferably without affecting business value. If you didn't consider sustainability when building your application, then it's most likely dirty. Here are some of the reasons behind that. Well, to start with, it probably might not use clean, renewable, low carbon energy. As Elsa said, 60% of the world's electricity is from fossil fuels. So we should try to relocate our applications to regions that run on clean energy. Consider using the cloud, maybe one that has a good, transparent climate strategy. If your application doesn't use hardware effectively, then you should consider something like right-sizing. Turn off the things you're not using, or in tech jargon, scale up and scale down, with extra emphasis on the down. Maybe your application architecture isn't appropriate for the solution. So consider re-architecting. Maybe event-driven is a good solution, maybe not. Store data in a way that suits the lifecycle and access frequency, and perhaps perform intensive operations off-peak. How do we know that it makes a difference? Well, I think this is the most important part. By being transparent and honest, I think we can start to make a difference. The numbers might not always be accurate, but we need to start somewhere. And we're agile, so we can adapt. Empower your teams with the tools and knowledge they need to make a difference. We believe that sustainability should be in our DNA. Agile development needs to incorporate sustainability into all decisions. And we're seeing more and more that sustainability is a key requirement in attracting and keeping talented co-workers. We're an entrepreneur program financed by Scania, and our mission is to reduce the emissions from IT. And if you're interested, of course, please reach out. Or if you want to join our journey, then please contact us. Thanks for listening.
Thanks.